We'll have our period of public input now. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to come up and speak to items not on the agenda. I'll limit your comments to 5 minutes. If you just state your name and address, please. Sure. Might want to turn it.
You only need to see the QR
Oh,
code, I guess.
gotcha. All right.
My name is Chad Bishop. I live at 7405 South Valencia Drive here in Sioux Falls. On this topic, I claim no credentials or special training. I reserve the right to be wrong because I often am. In an Argus Leader story published July 28th of this year, the city public health director, Dr. Chima, please forgive any mispronunciation, it's unintentional, stated that his vaccination target for the city was 80%. My questions will center around whether this plan includes antibody surveillance to identify those who are in the category of COVID-19 recovered. A New York Times article updated April 2nd of this year titled, "How much herd immunity is enough?" quotes Dr. Fauci speaking about herd immunity. We really don't know what the real number is. I think the real range is somewhere between 70 to 90%, but I'm not going to say 90%. In the same article, they still define herd immunity as through infection or vaccination, as does the CDC. However, in our Sioux Falls policies, I only hear of vaccination targets. I haven't read about antibody surveillance here. I haven't read about adaptive T-cell response assays. I don't see estimates of community or herd immunity on our state dashboards, only vaccination numbers. Why is this? Why isn't serology, what I understand to be a key tool in epidemiology, being used to help determine the number of COVID-19 recovered, so policymakers such as yourselves, business owners, and regular citizens can better calibrate both personal and collective risk? It seems like a lot of decisions are having to be made without this vital information. Around the time Sanford Health announced their Survive antibody surveillance study last year, they disclosed in July that they had already measured 6.8% antibody positive in the roughly 6,000 antibody tests they had administered thus far. I, for one, am eager to see the results of the Survive study, which purports to survey an initial 3,000 Sanford Health employees 7 times over the last year. But why is no one doing, sorry, I get nervous. But why is no one doing this in the public sector in South Dakota? Why is there no antibody survey data on the state dashboard or the city website? Why is there no estimate of community immunity beyond that of the vaccination campaign targets? As mentioned previously, the 6.8% number was from July, long before we turned the curve in November. That large hump in November, as tragic as the suffering it represents is, it represents a significant number of folks who had to contract COVID-19 and then recover in order for that curve to turn a full month before the first voluntary vaccine was administered in South Dakota. Up until last August, our neighbors in Minnesota were submitting their own commercial laboratory data to the CDC. According to this CDC resource, they were reporting 8.8% seropositivity in and around Minneapolis. This is when they had reported 46,045 cases. From this, they had estimated infections to be around 339,000. This is a 7 times multiplier. Today, the South Dakota State Dashboard reports 124,240 recovered cases tracked. If our multiplier is anywhere near to that of our neighbors in Minnesota, it approaches the population of the state. Now, obviously, I'm not claiming that, but what I am asking is, what is our number? How many are COVID-19 recovered? If we add the COVID-19 recovered to the voluntarily vaccinated, what is our estimate for herd immunity? Why isn't that publicly made available to the citizens? If we knew that, could it possibly diffuse much of the tension we are seeing around this subject? Those who are truly concerned when they look at just the vaccination rate can take heart. If we offered reimbursement for the $50 antibody test Avera offers, maybe someone who is vaccine hesitant but antibody negative will recalibrate their thinking. There's $106 million sitting in the Treasury at the state for COVID-19 relief. This would be a perfect claim on those funds. The rebuttal to this point is often that we don't know how long immunity lasts. My counter would be to offer the article published July 14th of this year from the journal Cell. The article highlights states, most recovered COVID-19 patients mount to broad, durable immunity after infection. Neutralizing antibodies show biphasic decay with half-lives over 200 days because that was the length of the study. They will be longer. Wow. Spike IgG memory B cells increase and persist post-infection. Those will create antibodies when you need them in the future upon a secondary infection. And durable polyfunctional CD4 and CD8 T cells recognize distinct viral epitope regions. In addition to these conclusions, please consider that those of us who have recovered from COVID-19 likely have an often omitted immunological advantage. This would be the presence of IgA antibodies in the mucosal layer of our lungs and respiratory system. The referenced NIH and Frontiers in Immunology, effectively describe why this layer of immunity is not conferred upon those who receive the intramuscular injection of the current vaccines on offer here in the U.S. Acknowledging this, I would respectfully ask that you add the additional category of COVID-19 recovered to your strategy for community immunity and bring unity, and abandon this divisive vaccine-only policy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak?